Hi there, I'm Steve Papagiannis, and welcome to Not Dying on a Budget. I'll be your host for the next 100 years. I've done a lot of thought on longevity over the past 10 years, and I've set a goal for myself to live to 150. And this was 10 years ago when there really wasn't a lot of research being done in this space. But now 150 seems like it's a doable goal. And then I read about a fellow named Bryan Johnson. He's a very wealthy American gentleman who has now decided that it's his goal to spend $2 million a year to fight aging and to improve his health. $2 million per year. It's an incredible amount of money. But to be fair to Mr. Johnson, he's doing real research on himself. He's a guinea pig. What I find puzzling, though, is a lot of the things that he's working with on himself haven't really been fully vetted. And this is the problem with longevity studies, is it takes an entire lifetime to decide if it's been effective or not. But kudos to Mr. Johnson for attempting to bring research forward and to use himself as a guinea pig. But in the interest of science, I'm making an effort to be a control for Mr. Johnson's experiment. And though he's got lots of doctors and supplements and access to tests and treatments that I don't, I'm going to believe that the four key areas that they know about longevity will give me probably as much of a lifetime as him. And those four areas are going to be diet, exercise, rest, and stress. I think working with those would be likely to do as well as Mr. Johnson without all the treatments that he's going through. And so let's see how we can proceed with this. I have a feeling this will be a monthly podcast. I will try and cover one topic in much more detail and compare and contrast it to how Mr. Johnson is doing. And I think that this is something other people can follow along with. Not everyone has $2 million to spend on health, and definitely not $2 million per year to spend on health. So I thought about all the other people in the world that are working on this or trying to improve their life. But when you look at these things, there's really two items we're trying to address. One is don't die, and the other one is stay healthy. And they're very closely related, but you can be healthy or live for quite a long time, but not be healthy. And I don't think most people would want that. And as part of my goal here, I am not proceeding with the head in the jar model of being alive. I have to be fully capable of movement. I need to be reasonably self-sufficient. So these are the things that I'm looking at in terms of my long life. So if I am going to stay alive, it's going to be a healthy state. But not dying, there's a lot of things that can kill you out there. And there's a list from the Canadian government, StatsCan, on the causes of death for Canadian males. And I'll show that on the side here. And globally, here's a set of treatments or a set of causes of death everywhere else in the world. So people who are watching in other countries can follow along as well. Now, in the interest of science, I'm going to make a prediction myself. I'm going to guess that just by clean living, I'll call it, I can live as long as Mr. Johnson within 3%. So if I live to age 100, Mr. Johnson would live to be somewhere between 97 and 103. But with that in mind, we are looking at ways to extend lifetime as well. He's looking to go beyond that. I don't think those things are there yet, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get access to them, as prices start dropping or as they start getting ones that are understood to work. But in the meantime, I'll compare myself to Mr. Johnson, and I will document what I'm working with. So setting some stats up front. I am 60 years old, which I think gives me a 15-year head start over Mr. Johnson, who I believe is 45 right now. I am 5'11". I weigh approximately 200 pounds. My blood pressure is actually quite good. It's 120/80 every time I get it measured when I give blood. My resting heart rate is usually between 55 and 60 beats per minute. I have no known medical issues right now other than some very minor arthritis in my left hand, which goes away after 10 minutes of exercise in the morning. Uh, but other than that, I'm, reasonably healthy at this state. Hopefully, we can follow along and look at each of those other areas in more detail. But for now, let's focus on, uh, what I have control over, and I'm going to probably start with diet and exercise.
For diet, we're going to look at the types of food that I'm eating and the amounts of food that I'm eating. Right now, I'm not as concerned about when I eat, but I will try and look at some things like intermittent fasting and such. Uh, for exercise, there's a variety of it. I'm going to be looking at cardio, weights, stretching, and so we'll look at that and how frequently I do those exercises as well.
Well, I hope you're prepared to join me next month. Um, it's an interesting experiment. I want to follow this right to the end. So until then, don't die and stay healthy.